Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we'll be taking a look at some of the unique and enchanted weapons that can be found in the new world. While some of the items are from Yggdrasil, we aren't looking at weapons from Nazarick. So while we may see a weapon from the 6 great gods, we won't be seeing weapons such as 3F, which is wielded by Albedo, or Hoyi's bow wielded by Lord Peroronchino. We will also be skipping some of the more generically enchanted weapons, such as the longbow that deals bonus damage to demi-humans that is wielded by Neia's father. To start with, let's look at one of the most obvious enchanted weapons, Frostpain. Frostpain is one of the Lizardmen's 4 great treasures, and is said to be made from the ice extracted from the Great Lake when it first froze. We originally see this weapon in Zarius's possession, and later we see Momon hold a copy of Frostpain with a stronger power output, and this version is called Frostpain Modified. Both versions have a skill called Icy Burst that can be used 3 times a day, and it releases a plume of ice that can instantly freeze everything within its range while dealing heavy damage. The other 2 abilities Frostpain holds is that it deals ice damage for every cut it inflicts, as well as grants the user resistance to ice damage. During the Holy Kingdom arc, we see a weapon called Sand Shooter that acts in a similar way to Frostpain, but instead of releasing Icy Burst, it releases the spell Sandstorm. When we see Sand Shooter, it is in the possession of the ruler of the Bathoak, Bruiser. Another sword we saw in Season 2 was Rosethorn. Rosethorn was held by Malmvist of 6 Arms, which is the security department of 8 Fingers. What makes his weapon unique is 2 abilities. The first is Master Assassin and turns even a minor scratch into a serious wound. The second is Grinding Flesh, which causes the flesh around any skin touched by the rapier to be torn apart. The same happens to flesh below the skin to make any wound even more severe. Naturally, when Malmvist fought Sebas killed him before he could get a chance to strike, and in the process bent the weapon's blade, now rendering Rosethorn useless. Around the time Sebas was committing his assault on the 8 Fingers, Blue Rose were doing the same. When entering the Black Dust Plantation, we saw the twin assassins Tia and Tina using Vampire Blades to take out the patrolling guards. Vampire Blades drain the blood from their victims and make any kills look like the result of a vampire attack instead. Hence they are useful for covering up the fact a murder has been committed. As for Gagarin, her signature weapon is a war pick called Fel Iron. Fel Iron's enchantment can cause the surrounding ground to collapse or even imitate a small earthquake when it is swung. As a magic caster, naturally Evil Eye doesn't have an enchanted weapon, but Blue Rose's leader Lakyus has 2. The first are the floating swords that she can control with her forts. They float passively around her, acting as a defensive tool as well as an offensive one. Naturally, she can control them to actively shield her as well. As for her other weapon, it belongs to a set of weapons originally belonging to the Black Knight, so let's look at him first. The Black Knight was one of the 13 heroes and speculated to be half demon. What made him unique was he wielded 4 swords that originated from Yggdrasil and would become better known as the Swords of Darkness. These are the same Swords of Darkness that the Silver Class adventurer team Momon and Nabe briefly travelled with were named after. Ainz believes that the Black Knight held the job class of Cursed Knight which originated from Yggdrasil. The class required a minimum level of 60 to acquire, and 70 was the minimum number of levels necessary to acquire all of its associated skills. These skills include the ability to release waves of darkness, inflict cursed wounds that couldn't be healed by low-tier magic, and instant death curses, all of which will be important shortly. As for the Swords of Darkness themselves, they go by the names the Cursed Sword Kilineiram, the Corrupted Sword Crocodile, the Death Sword Svies, and the Evil Sword Hyamilis. Each sword shares its power with and is comparable in strength to that of the Cursed Knight class. The Cursed Sword Kilineiram is described as being able to unleash waves of darkness. The Corrupted Sword Crocodile was said to inflict wounds impossible to heal, although this could just be the new world's lack of access to high-tier healing spells coming into play, and the wounds are just unable to be healed by low-tier spells, just like the Cursed Knight's ability. The Death Sword Svies was described as a blade that could kill a target with the merest scratch from it, leading Ainz to believe the ability stems from an instant death effect and putting it more in line with the Cursed Knight's abilities. As for the final sword, the evil sword Hyamilis, we don't know what power it has, but given the other swords relate to their titles, we can predict it has some association with the title of evil sword. While the other swords' whereabouts are unknown, we know Lakyus is in possession of Kilineiram, which has led to the theory that Lakyus is a descendant of the Black Knight and therefore also part demon. Kilineiram is also regarded as one of the strongest swords of darkness and has the ability to change its size and length. When Kilineiram is elongated, it leaves Lakyus far more open and vulnerable to attack, which is why the floating swords complement her kit so well. The counterpart to the swords of darkness are the holy swords. There are 4 holy swords in total, just like with the swords of darkness, although we only know about one of them. The one we know about goes by the name of Safarlisia and is wielded by Remedios Custodio, the leader of the Roble Holy Kingdom's Paladin Order. The other holy swords hold the titles of the Sword of Law, Sword of Justice, and Sword of Life, but their names remain unknown. While Kilineiram is said to be made of infinite negative energy, Safarlisia is made of a mysterious metal that is harder than adamantite. Additionally, Safarlisia can produce a limited amount of holy magic on its own. Its ace move can only be used once a day, and it amplifies a paladin's holy strike, causing the blade to glow a divine radiance and light to extend to double the length of the blade. While in this state, the sword cannot be blocked as it ignores defenses and armor, as well as bypassing weapons or shields that may be attempting to block it. The dazzling light appears brighter the more evil a being is, while not appearing bright to the user. This makes the attack harder to dodge while not interfering with the sword wielder's combat capabilities. The blade and its trump card both deal damage based on the karma of the opponent, with Safarlisia said to be capable of inflicting grievous harm to those with a significant evil alignment. There is another sword that is holy but only in name, and that is the 5 Colours Holy Sword. It is a treasure of the Neia family and is the same sword that Count Neia offered to the mithril rank adventurer Lilynette in exchange for being his 3rd son's concubine. The sword itself is enchanted with the 5 elemental powers of fire, thunder, acid, sonic, and ice. The powers deal their respective elemental damage to a slashed target. The long sword is unsharpened however, and as such is simply used as a blunt dummy sword for training purposes. Holy swords and swords of darkness aside, one of the most famous enchanted swords is Razor's Edge. As one of the 5 national treasures of Riestes, it is only given to the nation's strongest warrior, which was originally Gazef and later Brain. Fluder believes that the sword was created by the natural absorption of mana, or created through wild magic. Razor's Edge is special because it's magically sharpened to the point it can slice through armor like paper, and even bypass low-level weapon immunities. This means the weapon can harm Ainz and is why it is capable of killing him. Ainz has also theorized that it may even be capable of breaking a world item. Razor's Edge isn't the only weapon Ainz has had to face though, as he once received a direct blow from Clementine's Stilettos. The Stilettos themselves have no magical abilities, but instead their uniqueness comes from their magic accumulate enchantment. This allows casters to imbue various types of spells up to tier 3 into the weapon. Once imbued, the user can land a physical hit on their target and unleash the imbued spell once contact has been made. Doing this would expend the spell, allowing just about any type of magic to be stored in it again, just as Ainz did to use them against the Martial Lord. Another interesting weapon is the Ethereal Axe used by the mithril rank adventurer Scammer Elbro. By activating its ability Doppel, an ethereal copy of the weapon is made that cannot be destroyed with brute force. It will automatically strike an enemy with the same speed and accuracy of the original, but only deal half the damage. And finally we have the weapon Charon's Guidance. The weapon is a war scythe that the 6 great gods bought from Yggdrasil. It is now in the hands of the godkin Antilene Heran Fouche, who is more commonly known as Zesshi. This weapon that has the ability to pass through walls and floors was inherited from the god of death, Sarshana. Coming from the god of death, it has many fitting abilities, such as being able to summon up to 30 undead known as Spartiate every 24 hours, although only 5 can be active at once. Additionally, it allows the wielder to cast a variety of spells of which they can cast 5 every 4 hours. The spells include Undead Flame that surrounds and engulfs the target in mystical flames of negative energy, and Undead Avoidance which protects the wielder from undead without intelligence. Other options include the 3rd tier spell Create Undead to create low level undead, and Disease to cause illness. Sleep to the Undead which triggers a chance to destroy undead without turn resistance in a single hit, and Evil Eye which allows the user to select an ability from the different gaze effects are also options that can be chosen. The final 2 are Death's Mask to defend the caster from gaze effects and strengthen the feat effect caused by the user, and finally the 8th tier insta-death spell Death. It's worth noting that Death has the additional restriction of it can only be used twice every 8 hours. Despite the weapon being made from a metal previously unknown to the Theocracy, it is unable to penetrate Mare's dress armor, making it exceptionally strong against everyone aside from Nazarick as per usual. So with all that said, thank you very much for watching, and if you enjoyed, a like and subscribe would be greatly appreciated as it really helps out the channel, and thank you to everyone for all the amazing support. With all that said, thank you very much for watching and have a great day.